Hey folks, this is Adam once again, returning to you with another review here on the Movie Vault. Continuing with the Friday the 13th franchise, I've already uploaded the first three, plus doing a rest in peace video for Richard Brooker. I know it's way out of date, but I did it for a particular reason. It's because he's the only cast member in Friday the 13th that I've actually met. Richard Brooker, who played Jason Voorhees in part 3. Like I say, I'd love to meet Kane Hodder one day. You know, CJ Graham and possibly even more Jasons, you know. Been honoured to meet them. But moments ago, I've just watched Friday the 13th, the final chapter. Okay. And despite 1 being a big success, despite 2 being a big success, 3 being a big success, which is why they made the final chapter, they called it the final chapter because in their eyes, this was going to be it. This was going to be the final chapter, basically, in the Friday the 13th movies, making no more. Despite each one being successful, this one was meant to be it. Well, obviously that wasn't the case. Fans wanted to see more Jason, they wanted to see more Friday the 13th. And that's when we get, like, The New Beginning, Jason Lives, New Blood, Manhattan, and all those other great sequels. And it's the later sequels that I prefer more than the earlier sequels. Other people disagree. They say the later sequels are like more cheesy, and I agree that to a certain extent. I will get to them in later video reviews. But like I say, right here, the Friday the 13th 8-movie collection on Blu-ray. Just watched the final chapter, and I must say, after rewatching the final chapter again, I must say it's got to be in my top 3 favourite Friday the 13th movies. Because I'll tell you why it stood out to me. I got a lot of flashbacks because I remember the first time I started checking out the Friday the 13th movies. God, I was a teenager, but the thing is I didn't watch them in the correct order. I didn't know how many there were. One day I might have checked out Friday the 13th Part 2, then Manhattan, Jason Lives. So I couldn't remember the order, but it was all muddled up. And the scene I love so much in the final chapter is definitely the ending. The way Jason died, where the machete stabbed through his skull and he slowly slid down the machete. Love that scene. A very great gory death scene. You know, and I remember seeing that for the first time. I was like, wow, that's fucking cool. You know, but again, I didn't know what number it was. I didn't know which sequel it was. And since there's quite a few Friday the 13th movies, I was like, which one is the Friday the 13th movie that I saw all them years ago where Jason slides down the machete? And I always wanted to know which one it was. And I'd say after watching it again, that was the 3rd or 4th time I've seen the final chapter. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the Friday the 13th movies. I love Jason Voorhees. I mean, as you can see, Freddy Krueger's my main man. I'm more of a Nightmare on Elm Street type of guy, but not putting Jason down in any capacity. I love him. But I've not seen the Friday the 13th movies as much as the Nightmare on Elm Street movies or any other movies for that fact. I'd say Friday the 13th, the final chapter, there's nothing new to talk about compared to the 3 movies other than you got this new family and the kid in that family played by Corey, is that his name? Corey Feldman? Yeah, Corey Feldman plays Tommy Jarvis, and I like Corey Feldman. He was in The Gremlins. He was in one of my favourite childhood movies, The Goonies, where he played Mouth. You know, he's been in loads of roles, and I remember the first time I saw this movie, I was like, Corey Feldman's in this, you know. He was in The Goonies, you know, but he played Tommy Jarvis in this, you know, a horror movie. And not just any horror movie, I'd say one of the most goriest ones in the Friday the 13th films, because I thought this one was very gory. It's definitely got to be one of the gory Friday the 13th movies. I mean, we got, what's his name now? Is it Tom Savini? Yeah, Tom Savini comes back for the effects. He worked on the first film, and he returned because he wanted to help kill off Jason, who he helped create, basically. So I love Tom Savini's work. He does a great job with the effects, etc., and it was nice to see him come back to do the effects of this movie. I mean, the characters in this movie, like I said, we've already mentioned Corey Feldman, who plays Tommy Jarvis. We've got Kimberly Beckers playing Trish Jarvis. Eric Anderson, who played Rob Deere, and I want to talk about his death scene in just a few moments. We've got Barbara Howard playing Sarah, John Freeman as Tracy Jarvis. We've got Peter Barton as Doug, Crispin Glover as Jimmy, Judy Arson as Samantha, and we introduced some other characters like Camilla Moore, Lawrence Munson, Alan Hayes, Karen Moore, Bruce Marr, Lisa Freeman, Barney Hellman, and we've got Ted White playing Jason Voorhees. And believe it or not, Ted White's still living. He's now 94 years of age, and he played Jason Voorhees in this movie. Wow. I think he recently retired, though. Who could blame him at the at the age of 94? But he's still living, and he's still taking part in memorabilia to this very day to meet and greet fans. He's one Jason I would like to meet, because like I said, this one is gotta be my top favourite 3 Friday the 13th movies, so meeting him would be an honour. I mean, in this movie, it's more or less similar as Friday the 13th Part 1, Part 2 and Part 3. I'd say after the final chapter, that's when the adventurous side of Friday the 13th began to happen, where we saw different settings and different layouts and shit like that. It's the reason why I like Manhattan so much, because the different choice of settings, it was something new and refreshing. Although I know that's the one everyone disliked. But we've got this family, we've got this family, the Jarvis family. Like I say, you have Corey Feldman as Tommy, and you got all the other members of the family. There's a dog involved, and I mean, the movie starts off with Jason being taken to the morgue. He wakes up in the morgue. We see some gory death scenes straight away. We see a head being twisted right the way around. We see a woman get sliced in half, and very gory, creative kills. I mean, Part 3 was creative, but this was just as creative. I mean, the other death scenes in this, we see a corkscrew go through somebody's hand. We get stabbing through the projector. I think we get a death shower scene in this movie, and there's loads of great kills in this movie. I do remember it being possibly one of the most goriest. But again, I just love that ending so much. That's my favourite part of the movie. I mean, I just recently want to say when I talked about Rob Deere's death, the guy who played Rob Deere, Eric Anderson. I just want to talk about his death real quick. You're being stalked. You fear God of your life of getting killed by somebody like Jason. A lot of people made fun of this death scene. They thought it was funny. The way he was shouting for his life, the way he was keep going, all that kind of stuff. Imagine you're in his position. Imagine yourself in the character's position. It's not funny from your point of view, where you're in pain, you're in suffering, and you're in the fear of Jason going to fucking kill you. I mean, I will grant it, there's been a few good funny moments in Friday the 13th movies, like in Manhattan, for example, where Jason's tilting his head at the hockey sign, or where he kicks the boombox in the Times Square. Those are funny moments that you can accept for a Friday the 13th movie, but for a death scene such as that, I thought it was a creepy death, and I don't really agree with everyone's opinions when they talk about it was a laughable scene. I disagree with that. In terms of characters, there was no annoying characters. Usually when they start involving kids, they're all screaming kids or annoying kids. But Corey Feldman as Tommy Jarvis, he was a kid in this movie, and I thought he did a great job. I thought he worked really well with the other actors. I think all the other actors in this movie had the time of their lives working together and working in this particular flick. Again, I've got no complaints from any of the characters. I was in fear that Tommy Jarvis was going to be like an annoying, screaming little kid, but that wasn't the case. He really took it to Jason. He knew how to get inside Jason's head. And he does a smart thing, in that scene where he's continually stabbing him with the machete, because that's what you'd fucking do. You'd make sure the killer's dead, where some blonde with big tits would just scream and run in the other direction, not making sure that the killer's actually dead. Well, he's a kid, and Corey Feldman just literally stabbing him to fucking death. I mean, this is during the time where he shaves his head bald with a few locks of hair and changing clothes, trying to look like Jason. He's trying to give Jason the impression that he looks like him and he's like him and they've got a lot in common. Hence why Jason, for a short time, he just stops and stares at the kid, Tommy. You know, I thought it was a creepy scene the way Tommy did that stare, like as if he's cracked up or he's going to be the next killer. One thing I don't get about this movie, though, it's the fact that if they was intending this to be the final fucking chapter, why did they make an ending to make it seem like there's going to be another movie? You know, where Tommy's doing that stare. 'Cause that's basically what he was trying to say: is Jason's dead, he's going to be the next killer, or he's going to have some involvement in another movie as the psychopathic killer, or something like that. So if they weren't intending to make more movies, why did they leave it? Why did they do an ending that leaves the possibility of another film being opened? That's always puzzled me. But in terms of the death of Jason in a Friday the 13th movie, this one was possibly the most memorable. The way, I've already mentioned it, the way Skull slides down on that machete, it was so cool. I loved it, and I wasn't expecting it in any type of way. I never thought we was going to see Jason, that sort of thing happen to Jason. It was like a knife going through a fucking melon or something like that, slowly slicing through. I mean, Jason put his full weight on the machete and he went slided all the way through. Again, great effects, really well put together, especially for a 1984 movie. I mean, this movie came out of April 13th of 1984. It's a great pace, 91 minutes. A budget of $2.2 million. I made $33 million at the box office. Joseph Zito directed this movie, produced by Frank Mancuso Jr. I've already mentioned that Tom Savini came back for this movie after when he worked on the first movie, and again, he did a great job of the effects. And I've got no complaints about this movie, you know, and if they would have ended it at the time here, I would have been really satisfied. But the fact is, they made more due to the success, and the fans wanted to see more Friday the 13th movies. So that was obviously the case in the next movie. But you know, disturbing scenes. You know, same with Tommy, die, die, die. You know, the Trish character was satisfying. I know I don't talk highly about the lead girl in part 3, and I've already mentioned that I have nothing against her. I've got nothing against her acting or anything like that. I just preferred the other girls and like the other Friday the 13th movies, but the Trish character was fine. Okay, nothing annoying about her, nothing that put me off her. She did a fine job, along with all the other actors. So I've got no complaints at all. So that's my review for the final chapter, everybody. Very impressed with it. Like I say, it's got my favourite ending, the favourite kill with Jason. I disagreed with everybody's laughing side of things about that guy's death. Unnecessary. You know, but other than that, fine movie. You know, 80s was a great decade of horror movies, and like I said, this one came in the year of 1984, and everything was spot on. The music, the effects, everything was great, and I've got no complaints at all from Ted White either. I thought he made a really good Jason. You know. So that's my review, everybody, of Friday the 13th, the final chapter. What are your thoughts on it? I'll be really interested to know what you feel or what you think about this movie. After this movie, this is where Friday the 13th takes another turn. Don't know if cheesy is the right word, but it becomes different, drastically different. You know, we see different settings, we see different characters, different turns of plots, and you know, some are more better than others, but I'll get to them in future reviews. Thanks for watching this, everybody. And email if you've got any questions. Thanks for watching. Peace out.